Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to look at our first hot topic that says Dangote accuses oil marketers for sabotaging Tinubu's economic reforms. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has alleged that some oil marketers and traders are working against President Bola Tinubu's economic reforms by trying to frustrate his $20 billion refinery project. Speaking after a meeting with the president, Dangote clarified that his earlier remarks about cabals in the oil sectors were not aimed at NNPC's new leadership, whom he praised for their competence and reform-oriented approach. He expressed confidence in the newly appointed GCEO Bayo, Ojulari, and the chairman Ahmadu, Musa, Kida, saying their expertise would help transform NNPC and support Tinubu's goal of a $1 trillion economy. Well, right now we have a guest who is Kingsley Jeremiah, is the editor Energy Abuja Deputy Bureau Chief, The Guardian, to discuss this. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and how are you doing today?
I'm amazing, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so looking at this, right, I think the first question that jumps out is, Dangote versus the oil marketers. And you're wondering, is it economic interest or national interest? So is it possible that these oil marketers are just looking for a way to sabotage? Or is it possible that they're just going about their business? What is your own reaction to this story?
Yeah, my reaction would be that operators, most of the time, and when I say operator, I'm talking about Dangote, the oil marketers, and every other person in business are always in business to make profits.
Yeah.
Whatever national interest they have, the main reason why they set up the outfit, their business organization, one way or the other, is for them to be in business and then make profit. From wherever angle that Dangote is speaking from, he's speaking under the ground that he's a refinery owner, and then it plays a role in the downstream sector of the petroleum industry. Also, the marketers within the sectors that have been there over a period of time are there, although as Nigerians, but as business people who are also after making their profit one way or the other. So if you want to bring in national interest, for most of these people, personal interest, which is the major reason why they set up their business, will always come first before national interest. The sole aim of being in business is to make profit. So wherever that has to be done for this player to work together, make their profit, and then serve the nation, will always come to play from one time or the other.
Like you said, everybody wants to make profit. That's even the reason why I started up my business in the first place. And as an oil marketer, I'm thinking of the numbers. I'm doing it in my head, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what benefits me. But at the end of the day, I think most times we still want that national interest because, to be honest, it's Nigerians that are still going to buy this product. So what should be the government's responsibility to this, to ensure that there's a semblance of let me say some sort of balance, in as much as these marketers want to make profits based on their own business, but still knowing that because citizens are involved, we need that balance. What should the government's responsibility be in this? Could it be maybe they have to compel them to buy from local, refinery or whatnot? But how do you think the government needs to come in here?
Yes, so government play a critical role in ensuring that the market, be it the petroleum market, and particularly now the petroleum market, is balanced enough to serve national interests and to also improve the capacity of what consumers get. So that is why government has agencies within the petroleum sector. For instance, in the downstream sector, that's why you have the downstream mainstream petroleum regulatory authority to oversee the affairs of the players within the sector. So governments must find a way to balance between the interests of the masses and also the interests of the marketers. Governments needs to ensure that one way or the other, the business continues sustainably. Nigerians are able to buy products when they are meant to buy it, and then the price is also favorable, such that the marketers are not profiteering on the consumer. So in playing this role, government, in its wisdom in recent time, particularly from the NNPC, they have said that they will allow imports of petroleum products as well as local refinery to coexist. And in their own wisdom, the reason why this has been said is looking at the statistic of what we have gotten locally in recent times, which for something around, let's say, about 45% locally, and then about 65% still coming from the international community. One challenge we will have is if we do not eventually ramp up local production to ensure that we produce 100% and then we stop the people who are bringing in products from the international market, then there's going to be a serious scarcity. So government needs to ensure that we have security of petroleum products supply, be it aviation fuel, diesel, as well as premium motor spirits. So these are very important for government to find a way around. And in recent time, we have seen more trouble within the downstream sector of the petroleum sector of the Nigerian economy. And the reason is we have new players coming into the market, particularly local refiners, and then people who have been in business over a long period of time. You should expect this kind of issue, and over time, if you see some of this kind of issue naturally go with time. So I'm expecting that if government play the role that they should play, mediating between the investors and then the consumers, the local players, and the local refiners and people bringing in their product from overseas, we will sustainably increase our local refining capacity and ensure that the people who are also bringing products, who are selling products, want to sell their product. So if they are able to get their products locally at a favorable price and they are able to sell to make profit, I think some of them will naturally transition into patronizing the local refiners. And those kind of situations are already happening. MRS is one of those kind of organization. Yeah. AP is another of that organization. Hidden is another organization which is already buying locally. And I think that the local refiners will continue to push to ensure that they weigh more of these marketers to their side so that they can take their product, and if they are able to increase or ramp up their capacity, then you begin to see a drastic decline in what we get from the international community.
Okay, so I mean, NNPC has a new leadership now, and most times they just seem to be the supervisory board, if I can call it that. Do you think that with local refinery, like local production, and obviously having to import this product, fuel, PMS here, do you think that there should be a quota? Maybe you need to XYZ amount or XYZ percentage has to be local refinery, and the other you can import that. Do you think that's something that could work, or is there any other mechanism that you think the government needs to put in place, and even for accountability as well? Do you think that could just probably work?
I don't think government should be too strict regarding what should come from local refiners and what should come from the international community. In the Petroleum Industry Act, there is a law that there is a local content law that encourages about 40% at least by law of contracts and different stuff that happen within the oil sectors to be done locally. Now, what you have seen with the Dangote refineries don't start one day and then ramp up their production all immediately. We have seen a sustainable growth in the output of Dangote refinery. There's been a level of intervention, support in terms of provision of crude. There have been crises around that. They find a way to resolve it. And if we continue this kind of support, chances are that Dangote will keep ramping up his production capacity, and eventually things will normalize. But if you make the markets too stringent, it might fall back on the consumer. Currently, we see a level of competition in the sense that Dangote is doing everything possible to win market share, and then the other importers are competitive. So if you continue to see this kind of situation, you will most likely see that at some point the market will take a balance by itself without forcing it, because Dangote will keep pushing. If you make a particular operator too comfortable to operate, chances are that he has the capacity to dictate what the price will look like and how the market will look like. But if the prices are, if the players are competing with each other, there's a chance that over time the market will naturally normalize and the consumer will gain better. Government should not do anything that will put the consumer at a fix, that will give the consumer a limited option of what they can get. So the more you have options, the better it is for the consumers.
So speaking about Dangote, obviously there's the whole talk that he's trying to monopolize the industry and whatnot. And would you agree with that, or is he maybe even trying to monopolize it using the guise of Tinubu's reforms, but he knows that it benefits him in a certain way? How would you respond to that?
So I would say that I do not think that the question of Dangote monopolizing the industry should be a major focus that we should pay our attention on. One, most people got this refinery license at the same time that Dangote got the refinery license, and a lot of the people who got these licenses have not been able to do something substantial with the license they actually got. But Dangote went ahead to make something substantial of what he got and then put it into use and came up with his refinery. So the issue of monopoly only came into place when the investor already built his refinery, what a lot of people could not do. So while he has the refinery, it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that the market is balanced. True, if you have a single player in the industry, chances are that the market will be monopolized. But when you have multiple players, it means that the players can compete with each other. And let me give you a perfect example of what has happened recently with the pricing of petroleum products. There is the NNPC on one hand, and then there is the Dangote on one hand. These two entities are the biggest player in the downstream sector of the petroleum industry currently. And then they have competed in recent time trying to share the markets, try to take a grab of wherever is left of the market share. Dangote has won to some extent in gaining a level of market share with what you see with MRS and a number of other players that have solely sold his products, and then he has also been able to push the NNPC one way or the other. So you see situation when the NNPC, when Dangote is increasing price, that becomes the price that the market will take. And when you see that Dangote one way increase or reduces its price, you see that the rest of the marketers just play along that line, including the NNPC. So this is the effect of a big player. So if tomorrow, if that player is the only person playing the dominant role, then that person has the capacity to actually take over the market. What has also happened in recent time is that most of the smaller players, a lot of them are out of business, a lot of them are counting their losses. So it's a very tough time in the downstream sector of the petroleum industry, such a way that if you're not one of the major players, you will most likely find a way to divest or merge with someone else, or possibly your business get folded up. In that situation, if you're hiring about 10 or 20%, most of those people will have to go back into the unemployment pool. So these are the situations we've seen in recent times. And the independent marketers feel the brunt of this problem more because most of them are in the rural area. Immediately you reduce price and they have a level of stock within their town, it means that some of them will record losses unless someone is finding a way to bridge that loss. And if that happens one or two times and they are unable to cope, a lot of them will even have money to go get their next stock, and then some of them will stop their business maybe temporarily, and some of them will be out of business totally. We've seen most of the association, the marketing association, come up with this kind of analysis. So I think we need a market where competition can allow everyone to play a role, and then the consumers get a sustainable level of benefit from the pricing mechanism you see.
Right. because that leads to my next question, the benefits, talking about long-term gains, short-term gains. One thing that has been said over time is the fact that, we need to tighten up our belts. We need to sacrifice, and the dividends will come later on. But a good question is, what if those dividends don't come? What if the benefits don't get materialized, right? So in this case, how do we ensure that there is no sabotaging here? Because Dangote obviously is accusing the oil marketers of sabotaging Tinubu's economic reforms, and of course I'm sure that also has something to do with him and his business. So what do you see with the petroleum industry in the next 6 months to 1 year, if we're talking the short-term and long-term gains?
Yes, so I think the fight for market share between Dangote and the NNPC, despite the fact that we have a new management at the NNPC, we see continue for some times. Dangote is very serious about his business, and you can't expect someone who made that level of investment in his refinery to not be as serious as he is. So he's very serious about his business. He's ready to go down to peak losses and ensure that he take over as much market share as he can. We will see this kind of situation continue for some times until things normalize. And as this kind of situation happen, the major marketers, the independent marketer, as well as the big players like Dangote will have this kind of altercations you're finding in the news. All is to ensure that their interest, one way or the other, is protected. In terms of sabotaging, I think that the NNDPRA would have to live up to his expectation. And I think it is very important at this point that they wake up from their sleep and live up to expectation. Live up to expectation in terms of the quality of the petroleum products that we get in the country. Live up to expectation in the sense that they have to ensure that the players are held accountable. Both Dangote, both NNPC, both the major marketers and the independent marketer. We've seen a situation in the past where the NNDPRA has been described as the boy of some of the players in the market. So if you find this kind of situation, chances are that the regulator himself will dance to the tune of the player and not to the benefit of the consumer. So the NNDPRA also has to be very transparent. Nigerians need to get information about the kind of products they consume. So the NNDPRA has to live up to expectation and provide this level of product. Up to today, people are asking what is going on with the NNPC refinery, the Port Harcourt Warri, and the Kaduna refinery. Yeah. The NNDPRA came up to say that these refineries were working, but since they came up, they have not been able to provide figure as to how many volume of products we are seeing from these refineries. It is the NNDPRA that has the responsibility to account to Nigerians about the level of activities that is going on there, the quality of product that is coming off from that particular place. The Nigerian Consumer Protection Council or Commission also has a lot of role to play in ensuring that the products we consume, the marketers themselves are held accountable to whatever they do regarding the rights of the consumer. So if these agencies, the government, do not live up to their expectation, I'm afraid that the next few months and 1 year to come in the downstream petroleum refinery will be messy than what we have seen under the previous dispensation when we are totally importing product into the country.
Well, that's quite alarming. So we hope that doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about the citizens, and we want this product to be, accessible. We want it to be in the market, but at an affordable rate. So whatever they're doing, Dangote, the oil marketers, it's just important that you're still thinking of the national interest, not just because they want to make money. And, even with President Tinubu's reforms, it has to be something that works for the people, whereby they don't feel it's burdensome to them to just buy PMS. And especially if we're looking at the national minimum wage that is just 70,000 naira, and of course you have to transport yourself to and fro work, all of that has a factor to play. So hopefully, like I said, it's always going to be about the national interest instead of just business as usual and having to sabotage the petroleum sector for Nigerians. Anyways, we want to say thank you so much for coming, Jeremiah. It's a pleasure having you this morning. Thank you for coming on our program.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too, sir. All right, so we're speaking with Kingsley Jeremiah. He's the editor of Energy Abuja, Deputy Bureau Chief, The Guardian. And we're just looking at the fact that Dangote has accused oil marketers of sabotaging Tinubu's economic reforms. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing our next hot topic that speaks about Governor Aliye trade blame over Benue killings. Please stay with us.